What's good, y'all? It's Jarrell the Chop Bandit, and welcome back to What You Want to Know Wednesdays. And today we're going to be discussing the word secular and how it applies to your life, your career, and faith. So, as a creative, but more specifically a musician, we hear this term all the time. Because the first thing out of people's mouth is, oh, you out there playing that secular music, you're being so worldly and all of this stuff. And this applies to other entertainers too and creatives, but I feel like musicians hear it the most. And to a degree, I understand where it comes from. But at the end of the day, I think there's a misconception on what it is. Because number one, the word secular is not found in the Bible. So based on that, that means it's a man-made word. So one of the things that we first have to do is define what secular means. And that is simply denoting attitudes, activities, or other things that have no religious or spiritual basis. So, by that definition, in layman's terms, it means anything that doesn't have to do with God. And so, if that's the case, I think we have to actually be truthful about what is technically secular. So, if it's anything that has nothing to do with God, that means that's like activities, going to the movies, hanging out with friends, doing whatever. That includes your job. If your job is not in the church, then that means you're working a secular job because it has nothing to do with God. That can mean so many things. And so, based on that, the Bible doesn't say that you can't enjoy life because a lot of the things that we enjoy would technically be secular. If you like to paint, if you like to talk, or if you like to, whatever your activities are, if it has nothing to do with God, then it is technically secular, right? But one of the things that he does talk about is you are supposed to go out into the world and be a representation. You're not supposed to remove yourself from the world. So that means that you're going to be out doing things, participating in life just like the next person. But the difference is number one, your intention of how you present yourself and who you're representing. And number two, what message are you promoting? And another factor to carry into it is, there are degrees of which you elevate and grow in your spirituality and different convictions. And, your conviction is not going to be the same as the next person's. You're not meant to be at the same level at all the same times. We all have strengths and weaknesses and different things like that. I could be just fine doing certain things that wouldn't tempt me as opposed to somebody else doing something that would tempt them. So we're all unique in these different struggles and different things that we are going through in life. So based on that, I think we also have to give grace in where people are. So one of the things that I looked at for my life and I've looked over my life is I'll use myself as the example. When it come down to it, me personally, I made a decision not to play at bars and I didn't want to play certain types of music because I wanted to make sure that I'm presenting myself and presenting a message of, you know, Christ, which is not necessarily all just gospel music, but an edifying music. Like I don't want to honestly, I stopped playing blues because I want to identify with that. It's not that I don't go through struggles, but I don't want to be focused on that all the time, and listening to that and putting that in my spirit. So one of the things made a conscious decision was I was like, I don't want to play crazy music, things that don't edify the kingdom, or don't have a good message, a good uplifting message, So one of the things that I ended up doing was I was like, I'll play corporate events, I'll play, kid friendly events. And so that kind of put things into perspective for me. Now, honestly, not all of the music is, full edifying, but at least it doesn't make me feel dirty or, feel like it's compromising what I'm trying to do. Now, that's not for everybody. Everybody is not there. And I have no judgment because at the end of the day, I was in that place too. It's just where I felt like God called me to be. Everybody is not called with that same conviction, So if you're out playing certain things and you're doing certain things, dude, continue to do that. Get your money. Do what you want to do. If you really enjoy it, go ahead. That's not your conviction level, but that's where I was called. And that's where I think a lot of people get it confused where they think that just because they were called to a certain place that everybody else has to be there. That's not the case. Everybody has a place and a journey that they're going through, and you cannot condemn or judge anybody for where they are. Because number one, we're always changing. Life is going on, life is going to continue to move, and you don't know where they will be the next minute, hour, or day in their journey or their walk with God. You don't know what God is doing in their life to prepare them for whatever that's going on for the future. And if you focused on them, you got too much time on your hands. You need to be focused on yourself, because if you really doing the work for yourself, you ain't got time to be focused on what nobody else is doing, right? So I say all that to say, one of the quickest things that I tell people is I believe that everything has a time and a place. Like, they'd be like, oh, you listening to that music, da 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 da, and you shouldn't do this. Okay, I'll give you a scenario. When you're with your wife and you're having sexy time, what kind of music do you put on? Because if you're not putting on no Donnie McClurkin or no Fred Hammond, I'm pretty sure you putting on something else. Okay? So if you're not going to keep that energy, keep that same energy across the board, then you shouldn't be judging people, and you shouldn't judge people for what they do. Now, for me, my biggest thing is there's nothing wrong with anything that's describing a story or telling a story, as long as it's edifying, right? So one of the things I looked at is music is just like storytelling, and Jesus told parables all the time. There are stories that we read all the time. So music is nothing different to me. Like, you can listen to a song and hear the whole story and envision the whole story of what they're singing about, and I take it the same way. My thing is, whatever story they're telling in their music, that I gotta identify whether I agree with that story, and if that story lines up with what I believe in. If it does not, then I choose to like make another route or be like, hey, I don't agree with this song. Or, again, I run up on situations where I do have to play some songs that I don't necessarily agree with, but I just automatically know, like, hey, this is a season. This is just, I'm here for work. This is just part of the job description. Just like if you work any other job, there are certain things that you might not believe in per se, but you might have to do in order to accomplish what you have set out to do in that job field. So I take it the same way, but I know at the end of the day, I'm trying to minimize as much as possible the edification of anything else but God. You know what I'm saying? Like, my main focus is to focus on God and have him edified in everything that I do, because that's where I believe the most blessings will come for me and my career, my family, everything. At the end of the day, the only way that you make sure that you're edifying God is if you're representing him the way that he describes in the book. Like, let's take the sexy time music, for instance. There's a lot of dope sexy time music, but a lot of it is talking about adultery, even, taking somebody else's man, things like that. It's like vulgar and really crazy. So that's, for me, I kind of tend to stray away from that kind of music, because number one, the only way sex is supposed to be made is in a marriage. And so if it's describing a story that's trying to make it seem like sex outside of the marriage is okay, then hey, I don't particularly agree with that message. Like, it's not okay. We all fall short to some degree, in certain places, and a lot of us fall short in that area. But at the end of the day, it doesn't say anywhere that that's okay. It says like you shouldn't do that. So I tend to not, ingest that kind of music anymore. Again, that's me. That's my conviction. But if you're wanting to take on that same conviction, or you honestly, if God has been tapping you on your shoulder about it, it's not as hard as you think, and it doesn't have to be as deep as you think. It can be simply as easy as, like, is it a good message? Is it something that you can find yourself aligning with? And that's what you do. And God will make the way for you when you make that decision wholeheartedly. So that's all my time. That's what I wanted to leave you with. Hopefully this clears up some things for you. I look forward to your comments. Let me know what you think, whether you agree or not. Put them down in the comments below. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop them below as well. Until then, I'll see you on the next one. So I appreciate you making it to the end of this video. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. It's going to be more coming. And also, if you're interested in any of the gear and stuff that I use, hit the link in my description and scroll down to the gear list. Everything that I use is there, where there's my content creation stuff, my recording stuff, everything is there. I also offer lessons and different things that I believe will help creatives be more successful. And you can also get the free book and the worksheet as far as my faith and integrating it into my career. Everything is there for you, as well as all of my different social media links. So I appreciate you, and I look forward to hearing what you want to know. Please comment it below, and I'll see you on the next one.